Welcome to the Circular Economy Show by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, where we explore the ins and the outs of the circular economy with the help of key actors mobilising it at scale. My name is Rob, and I'll be your host for today's episode. There is a $700 billion opportunity available for the fashion industry, and this opportunity can be achieved through the use of innovative circular business models. In this episode, I will introduce you to some of the most exciting emerging business models out there in the fashion industry, such as repair, reuse, and rental. We'll also be looking at a large organisation as they transition from linear to circular. Once you have an idea of all the great examples out there, we'll begin to explore some of the nuances surrounding circular business models in the fashion industry. Are they all actually better for the environment? And can these business models work in tandem? This and more will be covered in the next 30 minutes. But first, we're going to showcase some of the most interesting and innovative circular business models in the fashion industry, focusing on repair, reuse, and rental. The fashion industry has become renowned for its wasteful, inefficient, and polluting practices. Clothing production doubled between 2000 and 2015. Yet the average number of times a garment is worn has decreased by 36%. So what are we doing about it? Let's explore some of the innovative startups applying new business models that decouple resource use from revenue growth to eliminate waste and pollution, circulate products and materials, and regenerate nature. We all have clothes sitting unused in our wardrobes. ThredUp's reuse model is bringing thrifting into the modern world. Here's Samantha explaining who ThredUp are and what they do.
ThredUp is the world's largest fashion resale platform, and our mission is to inspire a new generation to think secondhand first. We've done a lot of work over the past few years to work on removing the stigma around secondhand. There used to be some apprehension around shopping used clothes, but by reinventing resale on the internet and inventing this cutting-edge technology to process your clothing, to price it, to list it online, to make it really, really easy to find the perfect item that you're looking for, we've done a great job of eliminating that stigma and helping secondhand to go mainstream.
ThredUp is helping users to circulate products and make better purchasing decisions. But what about products you've brought that become damaged whilst they still have life left in them? Josephine Phillips, founder of Sojo, is here to tell us more about their repair model.
Sojo, well, in a sentence, I would describe Sojo as like a Deliveroo-like service, but for clothing alterations and repairs. And essentially what that means is we connect customers to local seamster businesses through our app and bicycle delivery service so that people can get their clothes fixed or fitted with a few simple clicks. Now, we wanted to sort of like modernize the age-old, clothing tailoring industry. But our mission is really, really aligned with circularity and with sort of trying to make fashion circular.
So now we've seen how to circulate products and keep them in use. But everyone wants to own their clothes, right? Not necessarily. Hack Your Closet is changing the role of ownership by allowing users to rent clothing via a subscription. Michaela offers an explanation.
Well, Hack Your Closet is on a mission to reduce waste and prevent waste in the clothing industry. And we want to challenge ownership of clothes. So we do this by taking clothes out of the waste stream and prolong their use phase. It could be recommerce, it could be pre-loved, secondhand items, but also overproduced clothes from different brands. And we match the style of those clothing items with our customers' style profile and send them 4 items each month that they can use for as long as they want before they return them to us. We always keep ownership of all the clothes and circulate them between our customers to make use of all the items for as much as possible.
What if you could wear clothes without them even existing? DressX is a digital clothing retailer that allows customers to buy digital clothing and render them onto images. The virtual clothes can be used by brands for influencer campaigns or for your own social media, and you can even purchase clothes that could never exist in real life. We've explored an array of B2C examples, and it all seems to make sense from the outside, but we can't forget the system in which they sit. What's enabling these repair, return, and leasing models? There has to be adequate infrastructure in place to facilitate the multiple transactions of clothing between users. And clothing has to be designed to withstand being used more and for longer. Imagine you are renting a shirt, but it has not been designed to withstand the amount of washing required, or it's not recyclable. Then it will end up in the landfill faster than if it were purchased by one person. The Renewal Workshop works directly with businesses to help them offer circular business models to users. Jeff explains how.
The Renewal Workshop exists to help brands become circular. And so really, we're focused on serving our brand partners to help transition their linear business models into circular business models. We do that in a number of ways. First, by helping them to develop the strategy behind switching over to a circular business model, which is incredibly challenging and difficult for a business that has been built for linearity. But then we manage the entire back-end operations for a brand, including all of the processing of the products that they deem as unsellable.
We have heard many examples of circular business models provided by startups that are leading the way in changing the fashion industry. Check out our circular business model study for more great examples. Which will you try? As you can see, there are a range of startups and innovative businesses in pursuit of this $700 billion opportunity. But is it just startups that have the capability to implement these circular business models? Or can large organizations adapt to achieve these economic gains also? Let's see how H&M Group are implementing their innovative business models to transition from linear to circular.
Circular economy is really key to our business strategy and our direction. It will be crucial for our growth going forward. And I would also say that our circular economy agenda is really also a way for us to both engage with, inspire and meet our customers. And also really adding on to what you just said on circular economy will be one of the most important tools that we have to actually reach our climate goals, for example, our biodiversity agenda.
We want to reach customers all over the world and make it easy for them to make sustainable choices and buy products that they can truly love for a long time. And this is a journey that we have started, and that journey feels even more important now than it did when we set out in 2017. But we need to speed up and accelerate this work towards actually finding new sustainable business models.
everyone who's followed the linear system is part of the problem, and the fashion industry definitely has been a very linear industry in the past. So I think what we need to do is kind of create this system shift, and we're part of that, of course, but we want to take a lead in this change as well, and still being able to offer available and affordable, sustainable fashion. But we have to rethink how that is made and how the products are used. And I think what the circular economy shows is that we have a lot of opportunities testing new circular business models, for example.
We now have to challenge ourselves, I think, question old assumptions and then reimagine what truth growth really is. We have a long journey ahead, and I think we are both excited but also challenged by the future that holds. But we really want to take the lead towards a sustainable fashion future.
So we've seen many examples of circular business models being implemented, and we've had a great view from startups to a major global retailer. But we wanted to hear the real experience from the people who have been involved in building and promoting these models. We had a deeper chat with Justine Porterie, the Global Head of Sustainability at Depop, and Georgia Parker, the Innovation Manager at Fashion for Good, both of which are fashion industry experts.
We've all heard about circular business models in fashion, such as rental, resale and repair, and how much better they are for the environment than buying new. But are circular business models all as they seem? Today, with inputs from our guests, we'll be exploring what circular business models actually are, why they're better, and really delving into some examples. I am joined by Marilyn. Marilyn, you led the team on writing our latest report. So my first question, and to kick us off, is what are circular business models?
Thanks, Rose. So circular business models for us are models that, in a sense, generate revenue without producing or using any more natural resources. So in a sense, they make more money without making more products. So that for us is this definition of a circular business model.
I can see the benefits of me repairing my clothes to make them last longer, for example, but what's better about circular business models and say a model like rental, for example?
Yeah, that's a great question. So repairs and rental are different in the way that they increase use. So the first one, repairs, is, as you just said, you repair your clothes so then you can use it for longer, whereas rental is increasing the use of clothes by rotating it through different people. So different ways, but they can have the same outcome as long as at the end of the day, that person, so you, buy less clothes. If they achieve in doing that, then great, they are a circular business model because they are not coupled with producing more new products.
So with all the circular business models that are currently mainstream at the moment, are they all actually circular?
Okay, no. So right now, they are not all environmentally beneficial, let's say. And that's because there are quite a few challenges in the system. The first one being that the way that success is measured in most companies is still very much linear. And that means that the more they sell, the more profitable they are. And that's how they are wired right now. And that means that they are not motivated, companies are not motivated right now to really shift away their customers from one business to another. And that means that at the end of the day, people are still buying or incentivized to buy more new clothes. Another one is product design, because most of the way that products are designed right now, or most of the products that already exist, haven't been designed for this system where they are going to be used more and for longer. So for example, in a rental model, if you can only rent it 3 times and then it breaks, then that rental model is not going to be economically viable and neither environmentally viable, because you could only get, you can only get like the worst from 3 different people. So it wouldn't get their maximum value out of it.
So do all these resale and rental models achieve what you just said? Do they make us buy less clothes?
No, and that's a tricky bit, because it is super important that they do, because 70% of the greenhouse emissions happen in the upstream part of of the whole process of the value chain. And that means that it's on the fiber production and the manufacturing phase. So we really need to reduce the overall volume of clothes being made as a result of these models. And what's happening right now is that these models are creating a lot of revenue sometimes, and that's proven by how many of them have become unicorn in the last 3 years. However, what is harder to prove is that that as a result of that, we are producing less clothes overall. And in order to really get there, and hopefully we're going to see some of that afterwards, is that we really need to rethink how performance is being measured in a business and how the customers are incentivized to really not buy more clothes. So to incentivize to use these circular business models as the one and only way that they access fashion.
This actually brings me on to my next question, which is for Georgia, for Fashion for Good. Georgia, you work closely with the industry to really kind of initiate positive change. What efforts have you seen in the fashion industry to help ensure that, you know, this making money but not actually reducing the amount of clothing bought sort of like doesn't happen?
Yeah, so we've seen that there is definitely the consumer appetite for these platforms, and we've even seen that this appetite has increased over the last 18 months. You know, you see the growth of Depop, ThreadUp, platforms like that, and we know the statistics show that resale, for example, is expected to grow 11 times faster than the broader clothing sector. In terms of brand commitments, though, we've seen mainly quantitative commitments around reducing overall footprint or moving towards net zero, rather than brands having X% of revenue from circular business models or circular services by, say, 2030. What we have seen, though, is an increase in the number of commitments to keeping a certain number of products in circulation for longer. So one of our partners, Zalando, for example, has committed that by 2023, they will extend the life of at least 50 million fashion products. Or another example is Adidas, who have committed to move towards circular services, building on their Infinite Play program, rental, re-commerce, as well as take back, looking to scale this across all of their markets by 2025. They've also committed to reducing carbon emissions per product by 15% by that time. We also saw that a lot of companies have signed up to the Global Fashion Agenda commitments, which touch on things like take back and resale and designing for durability. At the end of the day, given the size and growth of the peer-to-peer resale and rental market, it's really a missed opportunity for brands not to get involved. And what I would love to see is some brands starting to make those quantitative commitments to having a certain percentage of their revenue from circular business models in the coming years.
That's great, Georgia. Thank you. And I think you mentioned just there about the peer-to-peer platforms, and I'd like to bring in Justine. Justine, you are from Depop, and I guess my first question, pretty simple, but what is Depop and what's its mission?
So Depop is a fashion marketplace where you can join to buy, sell, or simply discover unique fashion. It's super easy to set up a shop and start reselling what you already have. We have about 6 million active users on 150 countries. And what's very unique about us is our community. We say that you join Depop for the fashion, for the items, but you actually stay for the community and the people. So that feeling of buying from someone makes a big difference. And our mission as a company is to create the world's most diverse and progressive home of fashion, and creating an ecosystem that is kinder to the planet and to the people.
So going back to what Marilyn was speaking about earlier, about how we're trying to, with using circular business models, is all about reducing the amount of clothes that we make. How does Depop ensure that people are buying less new clothes?
We conducted a piece of research a few months ago with Bain that focused and looked into the behaviors of Gen Z, which composes most of our audience. And we revealed very interesting pieces of stat. One being that 90% of them have changed some daily habits to be more sustainable. And out of those, 70% have actually reduced their fashion consumption. So this is very top of mind for the younger generation, and they make the link between being more sustainable and actually reducing the amount of clothes that they buy. And they see resale as one part of the solution. So rather than buying new, you can buy secondhand. And we know that they're being driven to us because of that desire to reduce consumption. So that's one thing. And we make this more mainstream as a company through two main channels that I want to outline. The first one is that we make it easier to buy secondhand rather than new. So it is a user experience that is very similar to what you buy something on your phone, on an app. It looks and feels like something you're familiar with, except you're doing something better for the planet because it's secondhand. And we know from a behavioral change perspective that it is important to that the change does not feel drastic. So that's one thing. And then we make it cooler and more aspirational to do so. And one of the things that we're super proud of in our community is the creativity aspect. So we have a number of creators and upcyclers, designers on the app who create their own pieces out of things that already exist. And by doing so, they socialize and make it more accessible for people to pick secondhand, but also they inspire others to repair and upcycle their own clothes. So that's how we think that we contribute to make fashion more circular.
That's brilliant. And mainstream, you mentioned a few times there. You have brought resale into the mainstream and made it cool. So given that there's so much momentum around circular business models and fashion at the moment, what's next for Depop?
I think to what resonates with what Georgia was saying earlier is the momentum in the fashion industry around circular and alternative business models. And we're incredibly happy to see this happening and keen to nurture it and help and collaborate as much as possible. So one of the things that we want to keep doing and do more is to work with others and shed the light on the practices and the brands that we like and go in the right direction, because we have a big platform. As I said, we have millions of users. So we want to be intentional in how we harness that platform. So, for instance, we recently this week we've launched a partnership with Levi's in Australia and New Zealand to offer some of our sellers the opportunity to work with Levi's to upcycle some Levi's pieces and sell that to the community. And those are the type of things that we love doing. We've also partnered with other players across the value chain. So we worked recently with her because we believe rental and resale both have a role to play in this. So how do we offer another end-of-life solution for pieces that have reached the end of their rental lives? And we've also supported a business that I really love, which is called Sojo, which is a repair and alteration app. So again, exploring how can we collaborate, because we think that circular fashion there is no silver bullet for it. So supporting across the value chain is something that we strongly believe in.
Brilliant. Thank you, Justine. Georgia, I wanted to come back to you and just ask what are some of the sort of external factors that can further help innovators such as Depop and those also in your cohort grasp the most, I guess, economic and environmental benefits from circular business models?
Harnessing the existing products that we have to generate this new value, whilst also having that creativity, I think is something that's really exciting, particularly if we think outside of just rental and re-commerce, all of these other opportunities that sit under this banner of circular business models. In terms of what would help innovators and companies like Depop, I think there's two main external factors. One are the brands, and the second is government regulation and policy. So starting with the first one, it's important that brands, when they're at the start of their journey, to take the time to really understand what their strategic priorities are, what internal capabilities they have, and who they want to partner with. I think it's also really important that all the relevant departments are involved at the start of the journey. You need marketing, e-com, merchandising, as well as the sustainability teams if you really want to make it a success. So that's on a brand perspective. That's just a couple of the things that we've identified. And then we also see from a tax and regulation and policy perspective that this plays a big role in the agility and success of the different business models. Thinking about the growth of extended producer responsibility and the impact that's likely going to have on a lot of brands operating in Europe, or how we can capitalize on initiatives like the one that's been brought in Sweden, where they want to lower taxes for those who repair. The work that you do at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, I know also looks into policy, and I think that it plays a really important role on accelerating brands' movement in this space by making it financially viable and also attractive for them to set up these business models within their existing organizations.
That was an interesting conversation with a Depop deep dive and a fashion industry overview from Fashion for Good. As Marilyn and Rose have mentioned, there is a lot of potential for circular business models in the fashion industry. And as we've now seen, there's many already in place. So what do we need to help scale these models? One of the enablers of circular economy is policy, including regulations and fiscal incentives. Here is a short video to explain. Policy has a major role to play in helping these business models transform from the fringe to the mainstream. Whilst in this episode we have covered repair, reuse and rental, there are many, many more business models out there. If you would like to find out more, take a look at our new study, Circular Business Models, Redefining Growth for a Thriving Fashion Industry, which you can now find on our website. That's all from this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please like and share it with your network, subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook, and that way you'll be notified every time we go live. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.